And tonight about the evil eye, about the Ayan Hara, and the most important part, how to protect yourselves from it, how to protect others from it, how to make it a much happier, kinder, unified, beautiful world. If we see what's going on in the UK right now with that balagan with the royal family and Meghan and Suits and Harry and Piers Morgan, it's a good example of how not to do it. Meaning, and I'm not picking sides, and it's not about, let me stick to my lane of Torah, but I think it is important that we just know that disputes and exacerbating the disputes and going to Oprah Winfrey and let's make even more of a public dispute and more of a public dispute, that's not what Hashem wants in this world. What Hashem wants is unity. What Hashem wants is love. What Hashem wants is forgiveness. And tonight we're going to learn all about how to really do it. And maybe if any of you know Meghan or Harry or the Queen, then I can get a chance to have a little chat and we can see if I can mediate and create some beautiful love between them. And also, if any of you are going through a challenging time in terms of arguments with friends or loved ones or family, I'm happy to speak to you afterwards, but I think hopefully the steps we're going to do at the end, so don't go anywhere till the end, because always the end's the best part. It doesn't mean you should go off now and come back at the end. It just means you should just stay for the next 60 minutes and enjoy. And at the end, we're going to give you practical steps of how to avoid the evil eye and how to create, love and the unity that Hashem wants in this world. So why it's been picked by really a higher power and it's put it into my head what to do. Every week on Shabbat, I start really focusing about the week ahead, because it says Shabbos is the Makar HaBracha. So this Wednesday night's become a really important spiritual moment in the week for me, hopefully for some of you. And what's up, Rivka? Nice to see you. Long time no see. Hashem should bless you tremendously and your family. So on Shabbat, I start opening up my Sfarim and I start focusing on what we're going to speak about. So I had no idea what topic until I opened up one of my favorite Sfarim in the world, called the Kedushas Levi, Rabbi Levi Yitzchok of Berditchev, one of my favorites. So I think some of you are aware that that's where my soul is super connecting to right now. Probably as a consequence of going to his grave. And it's once you go to the graves of the righteous, you really start feeling a crazy connection to them and you're opened up to their Torah much more. So like this is what he says on this week. He asked a question. Amy, what's up? Nice to see you, Amy. Good evening. This is what the verse says. This week's Torah section, we actually have two stories this week, Vayakel and Pikudei. So I'm just going to pick the first verse from the second one, if that's okay, Pikudei. This is what the verse says, if you want to check it out. It's in Exodus chapter 38, verse 21. And it says the following. It says, Eile Pikudei HaMishkan. These are the countings of the tabernacle. Mishkan Ha'edus, the tabernacle of the testimony, Asher Pukad al Pi Moshe, that was counted by the mouth of Moses. Okay, that was my bit of Bible for you tonight. Asks Rabbi Levi Yitzchok of Berditchev, what is going on? Nice to see you, Sarah. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Ask the Kedushas Levi a beautiful question. Since when do we do counting? We're not into counting. We're not into counting. You shouldn't count your money. And you should definitely not count human beings. And we just generally don't count because we know blessings don't normally come as a consequence of counting. Why? Because there's something called the evil eye. The Ayan Hara, which we're going to speak about. And due to the evil eye, the last thing is to go like that, point to someone and count and say 1, 2, 3, because then in heaven, they also now are replicating you. Hashem Tzilcha. Hashem is your shadow. Hashem reflects you, which is amazing. It's more that God reflects you than you reflect God, which is on a really deep level. So then, if you point at someone and count them, then Hashem's going to point at them and then analyze them and say, do they really deserve what they have right now? Are their lives living up to that or not? And we don't count. In fact, if you've been in a minyan before and there's like 9, 10, 11 people you're not sure, we don't say 1, 2, 3. We take a verse with the Torah with 10 letters 10 words. Hoshia, es, amecho, vorech, es nachlasecho, remen aseh madolam. And we have to pick that one as well. Even though someone told me we can pick hamotzi lechem oretz as well, which is interesting. But then people get really confused if you start making blessings on bread. We'll get there, Mr. Kaplan. We're going to get there, man. All your questions will be answered. This could be a big night tonight because we're going to answer. We're going to go crazy deep. So hold on to your couple if you're wearing it, and we're going to answer your questions soon. So you could say hamotzi lechem oretz as well. There's 10, but then it could be a blessing in vain. People will think like they come to a restaurant instead of coming to shul. So we say Hoshia es amecho, which means you should be raised and saved. So we pick a verse specifically which raises and saves and elevates, because counting generally is dangerous. We don't count. 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 So if we don't count, ask the Kedushas Levi, why in this week is it about counting? Why can Moses count this week? So we're going to speak about that at the end. But that's the launch for the topic tonight of, do we believe in the evil eye? And critically, if we do, which we do, how do we avoid it? Which we're going to see soon. Okay, so let's do this. Listen up. We definitely believe in the evil eye, unfortunately, or fortunately, because it's Hashem's world. That's what God decided there should be in the world. The evil eye is not some creepy superstition kind of nonsense. It essentially means that if any of you get jealous about someone, wish them bad, they don't deserve that. They're not worthy of that. It goes straight to heaven. It goes straight to the Kisei HaKavod, to the throne of glory, to Hashem's court. And they decide and they think, does your complaint have virtue? Do they really deserve that or not? And that's why we're very, very careful, generally those who study Kabbalah and Torah at a high level, not to share very good news when it's premature. You know, when someone's pregnant, then we keep it super quiet. You know, my sister manages to hide it from her whole family till literally a baby pops out. She just doesn't really show very well. You know, obviously that's where the concept of only saying you're pregnant after 3 months, when you're a little bit more safe, because especially when you've got a big blessing, and literally pregnancy is a big blessing in the tummy, then we want to be super, super discreet. And because God forbid someone sees it who maybe themselves are struggling with having a baby and looks at you and says, oh, why you? Why did God pick you? What about me? And God forbids you get an evil eye, and then God forbids harm can come. And we believe in that reality, and I'm going to give you lots of pieces of evidence why we believe in that reality, starting with in the Torah itself, in the Bible itself. In Genesis, we're taught that when the brothers, Joseph's brothers, came to Egypt, they all went via separate entrances. And the commentators write immediately they're coming down separate entrances, because if you've got a lot of good-looking brothers all coming together in one go, that could attract, says Rashi, based on the Midrash, the Ayan Hara, the evil eye. And therefore, we try and be discreet and modest. And they came on separate entrances. In fact, some of the story about when the matriarchs are getting pregnant, they're a little bit worried that one of the other women in their world is going to start getting jealous. We see that straight away in the Bible. We see in the Talmud, and this is probably the most famous place in the Talmud which speaks about it, and it's pretty petrifying, to be quite honest, so sorry. It's going to spoil your supper. But it says in the Talmud, but I'm going to make it better at the end, so it's all good. In the Talmud, in Baba Metzia, page 107, it says that Rav wanted to find out how many people who had died as a consequence of the evil eye. So he did some spooky spiritual stuff, which only great mystics can do. Went to the cemetery, started looking at the graves and looking at the souls and trying to get access to their spiritual medical records. And he found out the conclusion after his extensive survey that 99% In that cemetery that he went to, had passed away, as he said, as a consequence of the evil eye, which maybe you could even say just the evil eye was attached to them. They had an evil eye on them when they died. So only 1% didn't. Again, maybe there was something unique about that cemetery. I don't know, but definitely we learn generally from that here we see that tragically some people, when they get ill, there's an evil eye attached. When bad things happen, sometimes an evil eye, which is called an Ayan Hara, could be attached. And tragically, even sometimes when people die, there's an evil eye attached. Now, I wouldn't say it's necessarily because of the evil eye per se. We don't know that. It could be there's a multitude of reasons, but it probably really doesn't help if, God forbid, there's an evil eye attached. I myself, when I got very sick a few years back, a Kabbalist told me, you've got an evil eye on you and we need to get rid of it. I literally had that firsthand. If you're in the book of Samuel, but there was a census. When they counted the Jewish people and do a census, they had to be very careful. Tragically, in King David's time, they did it wrong. 70,000 people died as a result of an incorrect census where people were counted too much, and an evil eye came and attached to them. You see in the Bible, in the book of Numbers, in the story of Numbers, of Bilam. What was Bilam, this wicked prophet called Bilam? What did he want to do? His whole point was to set an evil eye on the Jewish people and thus harm us. And by the way, he really was the embodiment and maybe the great quintessential evil eye guy. And maybe that's one of the reasons why he only had one eye. You know, he literally looked like a pirate and he had his one eye. And isn't it interesting that an Ayan Hara is called Ayan Hara, evil eye. It doesn't say Inayim Hara. It doesn't say evil eyes, right? There's something about one eye, and just intuitively straight away we can say one of the problems with an evil eye is you're not looking at the whole picture. You're looking at a very narrow, small side. You're only looking at the parts of the area of dislike, the area of negativity that you're seeing, and you're only seeing that side in that person. So God forbid, if you're feeling angry with someone right now, if you're feeling sad with them, if you're feeling upset, if you're almost wishing them that they shouldn't have the success that they have, what you're doing is you're only taking one aspect of reality, one aspect of their personality, one aspect of maybe an action, maybe taken out of context, and focusing on that one aspect, and that's horrendous. We need to take with two eyes. We need to be seeing people with the whole picture, as we're going to see very, very, very soon. So Bilam definitely embodied that. The Talmud says that it's actually forbidden to stand in a friend's field, as Talmud in Baba Basra, in a friend's field if it hasn't grown yet. Because if you stand in the field and it hasn't grown yet, and God forbid you're jealous and you wish them bad, it could create harm for the field. Create harm for the field. And that's why the Talmud says actually what you're meant to do is you're meant to build a wall around your property at times where the people can't look in and give someone a negative eye. That's one of the reasons why, even though it's interesting, someone builds such a high wall, then people could almost have a evil eye at the fact that you bought a high wall because you think so you've got to do it in a modest way. You've got to build the wall in a way where people won't complain and people won't have even a greater evil eye. But that's what the Talmud says. Like, if you've got something beautiful, don't necessarily show it off. Obviously, this is going to be very much going down the route of not to be a show-off, God forbid, not to show off. And we're going to speak about social media soon, because in the era of social media, this is a big problem. So another example, it happened to me this week. I was in synagogue in the garden, kosher synagogue, COVID-friendly synagogue, and it's Shabbat Mincha, and I was called up to the Torah, and then they wanted to call up the next guy, which was my son. And my son said straight away, sorry, we can't, because you can't have a father and son being called up next to each other. And also you can't have two brothers to be called up one after the other. Why? Says the Shulchan Aruch, because of, you tell me, the evil eye. Because of the Ayan Hara. Because of the evil eye, we're not allowed to call up two brothers together. We don't call up a father and son together. So we see that this notion of the evil eye is actually put into halakha. It's put into halakha. There's a Pirkei Avot about it. Pirkei Avot, let's do a bit of Ethics of Our Fathers. Ethics of Our Fathers says in chapter 2, verse 16, Rabbi Yeshua says, Ayan Hara, v'yetzer hara, v'sinat habriot, motziin et ha'odam min ha'olam. 3 things can remove someone from the world, as Rav says, that killed 99% of people. And what can remove you, God forbid, from the world and remove you from society and remove you from humanity? 3 things. Ayin hara, the evil eye. And then he says another one, the yetzer hara, the evil inclination, and hatred. So the Mishnah itself talks about ayin hara. In fact, 2 Mishnahs earlier, it says, what is the worst character trait to run away from? And Rabbi Eliezer says it's ayin hara, the evil eye. That's the worst thing. Worst thing. God forbid not to have an evil eye. You have an evil eye, you're creating hell. You're creating hell on earth. Gehenna on earth. We don't want that. We definitely don't want that. We've got way too much of that. So you see how much the ayin hara is spoken about. Just very quickly why it works before we get into how to avoid it. Why it works. Why it works. Because if you might think, God, Hashem loves us, Hashem is full of giving. Really, you can just have negative thoughts about someone and that can damage. People think I'm talking nonsense. It sounds really too mystical, too superstitious. Like Ben Nassim loves that kind of thing. But many people are like, Rabbi, really, what you want? Watch this. Even though Hashem loves us and Hashem only wants the best for us, he hands over the controls of the world to us with our free will. We have free will. So just like, and if Benja's still there, do you remember when we played football those years ago when I could play and I gave you a little bit of a tackle and gave you a bit of a kick on the ankle? So if you give someone a kick and you want to really give someone a big kick and break their ankle, you can do that. You want to punch someone's face and break their nose, you can break their nose. I'm not suggesting you do that. Please, don't do that at home. Dangerous. But see, Benja's, I'm not making it up. Benj is still feeling the rabbi's kick. So the point is that we have the ability to physically harm someone. So my dear friends, we have the same ability to mentally harm someone through our mental thoughts, through, God forbid, jealousy, through, God forbid, giving an evil eye. That hurts them too. It's just there's physical ways and then there's other ways to affect someone's physicality. And from here, already we need to start seeing the power of the mind. You know, some of you who know me well, when I do coaching, I'm very into affirmations. I'm very into neuro-linguistic programming called NLP. Just the power of the mind can affect your health, can affect your attitude, can affect your life, can affect the blessings that come into you. So just like you can have affirmations about yourself, my dear friends, through the power of free will God has given us, just like we can physically harm someone, God forbid, we can harm someone through our thoughts, just by wishing them bad, God forbid. And again, the whole point of tonight's talk isn't that you wish people bad. We're going to see. Let's not do that because it's just going to rebound on you anyway and it's horrific. That's the last thing that Hashem wants. But we can harm people through our thoughts, absolutely. And it's called Ayin Hara. It's called Ayin Hara. In fact, the Chazon Ish, the great Chazon Ish, Avram Yishai Karelitz, he writes about the concepts of the law of attraction. And he talks about the power of the mind and how if you're super confident, you know, for some of you who are singles there, and you're feeling like it's never going to happen, change that thought pattern. Immediately change it. Start thinking, I'm going to get married, I'm going to get married, I'm going to get married. I trust Hashem, Hashem's going to do me my soulmate. Think about it with total certainty and focus and inevitability and watch, please God, the blessing that's going to come your way. So just that you can do that. What's up, Shana? Nice to see you. Just like you can do that with your thoughts about your life, the law of attraction can apply to you. Hashem's given us through the world, we're here to interact with each other, really to help each other. So just like, hopefully you've helped someone today. I hope you've helped someone today. If you helped someone today, just like you've helped someone today, God forbid we can harm someone today or tomorrow or yesterday through our negative thoughts, right? Through our negative thoughts. Miriam, nice to see you. Ciao. So, Ayin Hara is powerful, my friends. It's scary. Some of you may have one on you. And we need to learn how to, sometimes when tragedy happens, when negativity happens, when things aren't working well, it's as simple as if someone's put, not a spell on you, but an Ayan Hara on you. And we need to remove it like quick, super quick. And I'm going to teach you how to do that tonight. You know, in fact, there's a great rabbi called the Torah Tamima who wrote that in a few hundred years ago, when he was alive, the Tsar of Russia did an experiment with water. And he writes this, fascinating, that the Tsar wanted to see if just letters on paper can affect reality. So he bought 2 bottles of water. One, the Tsar of Russia put in positive words, loving words, healthy words. And in the other, he put in negative, poisonous, toxic words. And then he was able to see a few hours later that the crystals of the water, that if any water scientists were there, he could see the crystals and the molecules were straight and in sync and happy and positive and symmetrical. And the other one was balagan. The other water was just, you know, some of the water that I've drunk recently, just not very healthy, which is fascinating. Crazy, right? Isn't that crazy? Just words. And we know that, right? If I just now say to you, you're wonderful, you're amazing, Hashem's going to bless you, you're going to have the best news, straight away you're receiving those blessings. But God forbid we can do the reverse. And people do the reverse. People wish people bad. And even if it's in your heart, you're like, why has it happened to them? Why them? Really? God, like really? They deserve, that is horrendous, because what happens, it goes straight up to the department in Shamayim where they're looking. Yeah, you can talk to plants, it'll grow better, and especially in your children, right? But that's the way it works. So how can we avoid Ayan Hara? How can we protect? So I'll tell you how not to protect yourself from the Ayan Hara. And some of you might not like this. Maybe you might say it's a bit controversial, Rabbi. But like, as Piers Morgan knows, like controversy is normally good until you lose your job. So it's not that controversial. But basically, if any of you have got a red string on, I'm sorry to say, but that's probably not going to protect you from the evil eye. You know, did you hear apparently the Kabbalah Center wanted to like own red strings. They wanted to make like a legal shtick that they now own all red strings, which is bonkers, right? But the true thing, which is even more bonkers, is there's no real genuine origin from a spiritually healthy place for red strings, sorry to say. Like if you like swear on them and vouch on them, like you can do what you want with them. But I'm just saying from a Torah, from a halachic perspective, I found a Mechilta, Tosefta, which actually calls it an Emirite idolatrous practice. I found the Lubavitcher Rebbe also would say to people, it's bordering on idolatry. And it's not going to work, as you're going to see soon. Again, by all means, if you want to have it, you know, there are some people I know who but I wouldn't recommend it. If you're asking Rabbi Hill, should I get a red string to avert the evil eye? I would say absolutely. If there are any strings, if you want, if you're a bloke, is get tzitzis. That will help you. And a girl, then get a husband who can wear tzitzis, right? But I don't believe the red string helps one jot. Sorry to say. Number one. Number two, what doesn't help is when you, let's say you say, you know, I'm getting married next week, bli ayin hara, right? You like that, Shana? I'm getting married next week, bli ayin hara. We say bli ayin hara. What is bli ayin hara? It means without the evil eye. Or some of you like say, you know, I've got a new job, apu, apu, apu. Anyone ever heard that one? Where anyone says that in your family? Like maybe your great-grandmother or someone like that. It's like an old, you know, line. They say apu, 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 or bli ayin hara. So here's the thing. If I'm saying I'm getting married next week, by the way, I'm thank God, happily married for many years. Just saying like stuff, right? If you're saying I'm going to get married next week, bli ayin hara, how does it help if you, the object of the marriage, is saying you're not going to put an ayin hara on yourself unless you're really in a bad way, and then you really do need my coaching, and I'm happy I've got some more clients available, so happy to see if you're putting ayin haras on yourself. But normally we don't put ayin hara. So in other words, For you to say Ayan Hara, that's not going to protect you, just because, unless you maybe say it's a prayer. And if you're saying Ayan Hara as a prayer, maybe can help. Prayer obviously helps, but it's not going to be what's really going to help, which we're going to see soon, what's really going to help. So what I'm trying to say is so the one who really should say Ayan Hara is if you hear good news, and then you're kind of repeating, wow, my friend just got a good job, Ayan Hara, that you can say. My friend's getting married next week, Ayan Hara, my friend just got pregnant, Ayan Hara. You can absolutely say that's a beautiful thing to say if you mean it. By the way, if you don't mean it, kind of what's the point? But if you actually maybe still say it, even if you don't mean it, because fake it to make it. But so say it if it's happening to someone who's not you. If you're the hearer of good news, you can say Ayan Hara, because that means I'm not giving them the evil eye. It means when you hear good news from someone, you're saying, I'm so happy for you, genuinely. And God forbid that Ayan Hara should attach itself to you. But if you're yourself saying you're the bearer of the good news, right? You're saying the good news. I don't see how it's going to help saying Ayan Hara. What you should say is what I say, which is Im Yutz Hashem. So if you're saying, you've got a new job, you say, I've got a new job next week, Im Yutz Hashem. With Hashem's help, with God's help, I'm going to have that job. That's what you can say. And by the way, and this is where it's going to get really tricky, who's to say that you should even tell people your good news? I definitely wouldn't recommend saying to some people your good news if there's a chance that they might not be totally delighted for you. For example, anyone there who are singles, and let's say it's going well with your boyfriend stroke girlfriend, and you hope to get engaged. I wouldn't necessarily be telling friends who are single, or friends who are unhappily married, or friends who don't like you, that the good news. It's the last thing you need to do. The last thing you need to do. Because God forbid that when someone hears your good news and they aren't happy with your good news, God forbid they could put an Ayin Hara on you. And that's why there's a piece of Talmud, one of the most petrifying pieces of Talmud, which I want you to live by, which says that the greatest blessings happen to modesty. When there's modesty, discretion, under the radar, then that's when blessings happen. So therefore, that's why we don't publicize when you get pregnant. You don't publicize when fragile good news is happening. Just keep it a bit stum until the contracts are signed. And then even then, be careful who you tell. That's for sure. Problem what about this whole social media world where people are putting all their good news on social media. So again, maybe let's speak a little bit that at the end. And Johnny's question, please stay to the end, Johnny. And then let me give you how to avert the evil eye. And then we'll see still if your question is relevant. Because I think if we really do the work of being a vessel that averts the evil eye, I'm not so worried. But still, I think we need to be conscious on social media to definitely, if it's fragile news, do you know what I mean? Like, be careful, be a little bit careful, because there's a lot of sadness in the world. And if people are going to see your posts and it's going to make even just a few people, it just takes one. It just takes one eye. If it just takes one eye to be jealous of your post, and you'll see soon how you could be vulnerable to that jealousy, it's not worth it. Now, some of you may be public figures, some of you who kind of your work or your finance and your livelihood is connected to social media. That's a little bit different, because then you might say, I'm not doing it, God forbid, to show off. I'm not doing it, that's the way I'm kind of interacting. You're an influencer, or your career involves social media. Even someone like myself as a rabbi, I'm on social media tonight, but hopefully it's good that I'm on. It's good I'm trying to build up our site, because that enables us to make Hashem happier by teaching way more Torah. So I think people who are in the social media for spiritual matters, let's say you're head of a charity, and it's really important to be in social media, which helps the charity, and then to put your good news and something's happened to your family within social media, then Beseder, then it's okay. But I do think generally we need to to think about when to use social media for good news. I really do think you should think about that. But let's now get into how to avert the Ayan Hara. And this is the key part of the talk, everybody, because I'm all about positivity. I'm all about helping your lives. I'm all about bringing unity. I'm all about helping to bring Mashiach. So I'd like to explain to you how the Kabbalists explain the real way, not with the red string, we can avert the evil eye. And here we go. And then, when we finished it, I'm happy to take as many questions as you want. Maybe, depends, like maybe in 3 hours' time. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. Shana, that's why you listen, because if you're listening, Hashem's going to make me say exactly what you need to hear every time it works that way, right? Here we go. Number 1, the way to avert the evil eye. Are you ready? It's a little bit obvious. I've kind of been hinting to it all the way through the night. And it's from a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot again, chapter 2, number 13. It says, Su'uru, go and see what is the greatest character trait to have. The greatest, Rabbi Lezer Omer, Ayin Tova. You want to get rid of the evil eye? Have a good eye. It's the good eye which destroys the evil eye. You just got a question, are you a good eye or bad eye? Are you an Ayin Tova or Ayin Ra'ah person? What are you? That's the question. That's the way to fix it, my friends. Have an Ayin Tova. Have a good eye. See the good in people, as we're going to see soon. See the good in life. See the good in your friends' news. Just be a good eye, which we're going to see soon. Be that Ayin Tova. And if you're the Ayin Tova, that changes everything. What's up, Layla? She's an Ayin Tova. She's a good eye. What do we mean? Let me start off with an amazing book, which I really recommend, if you never read it, to go and buy it and read it all night long. It's called Tomed Dvara from the Ramak. A very deep Kabbalistic book. And in chapter 3, let me just say to you what he writes. He writes the following. What's the way to have the good eye? Sarech ha'adam. It's important that humans, lios onov pekuchos, should have their eyes opened on the world in a good way. Should see the world from a good, right? He should see humanity, see society, see your friends, see your loved ones, see from a good eye, from a good perspective. And he should genuinely want the best for people. And he writes, Lakarev anafashos. It's amazing. He talks about this idea of kiruv. The idea of kiruv is the idea of trying to inspire people, trying to bring people closer to Hashem, closer to their own potential. And the way you do that is by loving people and by caring for people and by just seeing the good in people. So when someone comes to see you, you just straight away, you can see their godly spark. The Kedushas Levi, when he talks about how to have the good eye, he explains how the Kabbalists say, they can see your spiritual aura. They can see the godliness in you. They see that your love and your beauty, and that you're able to go straight into your good spots and your godliness. And everyone's got strengths. Everyone's got assets. So the question is, how are you looking at people? How are you looking at your friends? Let's say some of you now, you've had a problem with one of your friends and a bit of a fallout. You can either do the following. You can either say, how dare they do that to me? That's it. I'm super upset. Or you can say, you know what? Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe if I would have been put in their shoes, I would have reacted that way. Do you know what? There's so many other beautiful things about that person. Straight away, just focus on the good. Focus on the good. Focus on the good. One of the lessons I learned in Tel Aviv, my time there, and please God to be back soon, there's this really, I think, horrible phrase called Al tieh fraya. Basically, don't be a doormat, don't be an idiot, don't get mugged, don't let someone mug you over. But that's such a wrong expression. That's basically the expression, don't be too nice. God forbid, be so nice. Because if you start seeing each other from a place of godliness, you're seeing the godliness in them. You're seeing the good in them. You're seeing the beauty in them. That's going to change the world. That's going to protect you. That's going to protect you from the evil eye, as we're going to see soon. So Rabbi Dessler, the great Rabbi Dessler, so the book Avert is called Tomer, Tomer, Devora, Devora, by the Ramak. Rabbi Dessler, in another book, which I recommend you book, called Strive for Truth, he writes like this, and this is now getting into if you want to know how you can be protected from it. So the first part is you have a good eye, but it's going to go much deeper. Second part is, the way the evil eye works is the following, says Rabbi Dessler. Listen up. And he brings the example of Joseph and the brothers, and then we'll relate it to you in a minute. Joseph and the brothers, they're having a big problem, right? The brothers are jealous. They hate him. They threw him into Egypt. Rabbi Dessler writes, in that situation, the reason why Joseph was allowed to have the Ayan Hara on him, unfortunately, he received the evil eye in it. And he went from kind of the king of the world with the coat of many colors to a prison in Egypt. Nice to see you, Ariella. Never too late. So, says Rav Dessler, what happened to him was because he himself had messed up. He himself had said bad reports about the brothers to the father. He spoke bad about the brothers. He's now done something to make them upset. So now Hashem can say, but you upset them first. So now they're entitled to give you an evil eye. So again, if you want to know who can harm you, it's who you have harmed. It's who you have upset. It's who you perhaps have given an evil eye to yourself. It's who maybe you have spoken Lashon Hara about. It's who you maybe haven't been kind to, and then they're upset with you. Now you're vulnerable to their evil eye. So you want to avoid the evil eye on you. First and foremost, just don't say bad about anyone. Don't be nasty to anyone. Be kind to everyone. And then in heaven, they're not going to be able to look at you. Essentially, there's a court case. Every time there's an evil eye, there's a court case in Shamayim, and they say, you versus the person who gave the evil eye, did you do anything to deserve it? If you were perfect, you never ever did anything wrong to them, ever upset them ever, you're untouchable. You're untouchable. If you've made them upset somehow, all of a sudden you're vulnerable. So Rabbi Dessler explains, step two, because step one is to have the good eye. Step two is to ensure that you never upset anyone, because only by upsetting someone, then you become vulnerable to the evil eye. So that's the idea. Hopefully you're getting it. And by the way, obviously, therefore, if you've got someone in your life, let's say you feel you've got an evil eye on you, and you kind of know where it's coming from, I think it's so important to go and try and have a meeting, try and have a chat. Because if they're really harming you with their evil eye, then you need to try and fix things. And again, don't just fix it for you, fix it for Hashem, because his children are fighting. Hashem doesn't want that. So I said to you, the whole Meghan, Harry, Queen, Piers Morgan, everyone's angry with everyone. The liberals are now on Meghan's side, and the Republicans it's just broigus. Everyone's broigus with each other. Hashem doesn't want that. God doesn't want his world to be full of conflict. Hashem wants peace and unity and love. So fix things. If I was mediating, I'd get, Harry and Meghan and the Queen all together. The Queen, if you're listening, right? I'd get you all together and let's chat it out. You love each other. Give each other a hug. Let's talk through the problems. Let's try and resolve the problems. Let's see the good in each other. So if you've got someone in your life that you're having an issue with, you're having a big conflict with, and you think that perhaps that, by the way, Queen, if you are watching, if you can donate to J Network, it'll be really helpful. What are we saying? So if there's someone in your life that upset, talk with them. See the good in them. As we're going to see soon. Number 3. This Talmud blew my mind. I want to thank you all so much, everybody. I want to thank you so much for being here, because by the mere fact that you're here, that compels me to have to work really hard this week to try and prepare this. And I thank God Hashem brought to me this amazing piece of Talmud, which I didn't know before, which I thank you for. And it's a piece of Talmud, if you want to check it out, in Chagiga, in Gemara Chagiga, page 15. And it says the following. This is mind-blowing, everybody. You ready for this? Nassim, you'll like this one. Hopefully this will be forgiveness for me kicking your ankle in football. The Gemara says, Rabbi Bar Shilo, the great sage Rabbi Bar Shilo, met Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Hanavi. These great sages were able to know how to contact Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Hanavi, which I'm not going to go into, how the soul of Elijah never dies and is always available and accessible. Sometimes literally physically comes in this world in the guise of humans, and sometimes there's ways to get Elijah the prophet's email address. I'm not quite sure. It seems that he was here in this world. Elijah was here and he was speaking to the rabbi called Rabbi Bar Shilo. And Rabbi Bar Shilo said, Eliyahu Hanavi, what's it like up there? Like, what's going on in Gan Eden right now? What's going on in Shamayim? What's going on? So Eliyahu Hanavi says, let me just listen. Actually, Hashem himself is giving a Torah share, and he's quoting the names of the rabbis. When Hashem gives the share, whatever this means, it's amazing. He quotes the rabbis, even though everything's come from Hashem. So he says, Rabbi Yehuda saying this, Rabbi Kiva saying this, Hillel saying this. He's quoting the names of the rabbis. He's literally quoting their names. Says Rabbi Bar Shilo, is he quoting like my teacher? My teacher's Rabbi Meir. Is the great Rabbi Meir being quoted? And Eliyahu Hanavi like kind of looks down and is like, sorry, like I know your teacher's a great teacher, Rabbi Meir, but Hashem doesn't mention his name. He's kind of like an unmentionable. Why? Because Rabbi Meir had a teacher called Elisha ben Avua who became a heretic. In fact, he became such a heretic, we changed his name to Acher, the other one. He lost the plot big time. And Rabbi Meir still learned with him after he became a heretic. And being a heretic, that means there's falsehood, that means there's heresy, that means there's a lack of truth. And God forbid, can't be attached to a name which is attached to lack of truth. So says Rabbi Bar Shilo, but Eliyahu Hanavi, Rabbi Meir knows how to distinguish between the truth and lies. He could filter it out. He was so great, Rabbi Meir. He knew he was able, he was allowed spiritually to listen to his ex-teacher. He was actually trying to inspire his ex-teacher and trying to be Makarev, the teacher, and being nice to him. And he knew how to filter out the truth and the lies. That's why Eliyahu Hanavi says, one second, I can hear something. Hashem is now saying Omer Reb Meir. God himself is now teaching Torah in the name of Reb Meir. That's the Talmud. Okay, so here with the point that God wouldn't mention his rabbi's name until he gave him the benefit of the doubt, until he said positive things about Reb Meir. And the moment that positivity was said about Reb Meir, at the moment that the reality of Reb Meir was that he could filter out the truth and lies of his ex-rogue teacher, it changed in heaven. And the question is, what's going on? This is Hashem. This is God himself. God didn't know that Rabbi Meir could filter out. It's like God is like, wow, thank you for telling me, Rabbi Bar Shilo. I had no idea that Rabbi Meir knew how to filter things out. Now you've told me, Sababa. Let me quote his name. God knew already. What is the lesson? That the law of attraction, the law of the evil eye and the good eye, goes to such an impact that you're changing even spiritual reality. Spiritual reality is going to change. Hashem himself will change the way he operates, the way he speaks, the way he liaises with us. You're not just changing. Benj was talking about if you talk to the plant nicely, it's going to grow better. It's not even just about plants. We're talking about Hashem himself in the world of truth will change the reality there as a result of the way we perceive, as the result of the way we talk, as a result of seeing the good. You can see the good in a friend. Everything will change for your friend. Everything. Everything will change. And from here, I've really learned such an amazing lesson. I said, I thank you so much for this lesson. Because, Talia, so nice to see you. Listen to this lesson. That means from now on, when you daven for your friend, what I'd like you to do, and then you're going to tell me when it's going to work so well. It's going to work so well. Let's say you got a friend that you're trying to daven, they should get married. So instead of just saying, can Sophie get married? Hashem, please help Sophie Bas, you should know the mother's name, Sophie Bas Yehuda, get married. Say to Hashem, Hashem, do you know how amazing Sophie is? Do you know how kind she is? You know, she makes me chicken soup when I'm not well. She's going to make the best wife. She's awesome. And you see her for good, and you almost talk to Hashem in the context of this individual is so worthy of a blessing. Maybe you didn't know Hashem. She does X, she does Y, she does Z. I really believe your prayers can now go to a whole new level as a result of this amazing piece of Talmud. Because by you pointing out to Hashem their positives, that's a way to defeat the Ayan Hara. Ayan Hara is the opposite. Ayan Hara, someone says, God, they don't deserve that. Come on. They're rubbish. They're useless. Do you know what they did to me? We're now reversing it. Do you see now why the red string is so nebuchtik, is so irrelevant? You put a red string on, that's going to change this whole spiritual reality. What's going on is there's been negativity attached to this person. So what we need to do is transfer it to positivity. So now, from now on, when you daven for your loved ones, maybe you got a loved one who's really sick, say to Hashem, Hashem, do you know the good that that person does? The tzedakah that he gives, the kindness that they do, the mitzvahs that they do. Speak to Hashem in the pros, you know. And another key thing, forgive. Just maybe there's someone in your life that you haven't been able to forgive, and they're going through a tough time. Forgive them. Say to Hashem, Hashem, I forgive them with a full heart. With a full heart. And then if you say I don't, well, A, fake it to make it. And B, if you just see each other as souls, I can assure you when you get to the next world, your soul and their soul will be best friends. It's this world where it's your ego and their ego, conflict, balagan, chaos. But that's because you're two egos fighting it out. But if you can go from a place of ego into a place of a neshama, and it's your neshama sees their neshama, and you wish them well, because all there is good within the neshama. So that's a new beautiful way to pray. Next, let me share with you something amazing that I heard from a really cool new rabbi that I've just found on YouTube this week. I'll tell you his name later. His first name is Michael, Rabbi Michael. So this is what I heard from Rabbi Michael. There's a Pirkei Avot that says, and again, this blew my mind. The famous Pirkei Avot, right? I think it's, let's see if I can find it. It says, Ezehu in chapter 4, number 1, Ben Zoma. Ezehu Ashir, who is a wealthy man? Who's going to write it in for me now? This is up to you now. Get to work. Get your fingers. What's the answer, Pirkei Avot? Who is a wealthy person? And don't say like, Bill Gates. That's not the answer I'm looking for. What does Pirkei Avot say? Not just the queen. And queen, if you're there and you're saying yourself, fair enough, you can say what you want. But anyone, if it's Ezehu Ashir, what are you going to write? The answer is, says Pirkei Avot, Hasamech b'chelkei. Someone who's happy with his lot. Me. Oli did well to get such a Rebbitzin. Awesome. Right? Happy with his lot. So it says, Hasamech b'chelkei, happy with his lot. Says Rabbi Michael, Skolback, I think his surname is. It says like this. My daughter's smashing it tonight. So it says, Samech b'chelkei, with his lot. Ask Rabbi. It should say, Samech b'chelkecha, happy with your lot. If you're happy with your lot, you're happy with what Hashem's given you and your blessings and your life and your bank account, then, awesome team, Amy and Ollie, right? Then that's how most people view it. You're happy with your lot. I heard from this Rabbi Skolpak, something amazing. It doesn't say that. It says, Hasamech b'chelkei. If you can be happy with your friend's lot, with his lot, with her lot, you're genuinely happy for your friend. If you can have total happiness, because you know what? Your friend's got a great job, so you're happy. Your friend's got a soulmate, so you're happy. Your friend's healthy, so you're happy. If you can get to the level where you're genuinely happy for your friend, bang, that's a wealthy person. And that's a way to avoid the evil eye. How crazy is that? Isn't that beautiful, everyone? Isn't that gorgeous? Wasn't that worth coming for tonight? That the way to achieve wealth in this world and the next, the way to avoid the evil eye is genuinely be happy for each other. Reb Chaim Kanievsky used to say, when a famous story, a girl went to him for a bracha. to get married. She was single. He said, go and next time you have a friend that gets married, dance at her wedding like it's yours. But don't dance because it's your wedding. Dance because you are so happy for your friend. It's such a big way that when you dance at your friends' weddings, please God, soon we'll be able to have weddings where you can dance at. When you can be genuinely joyous, when your friend has a simcha, has a celebration, as if it was yours, bang, magic. That's the way to avert the evil eye. Then you're just seeing the Ayin Tovayim people. Then there's just the good eye, because their happiness is as important to you as your happiness. By the way, the same even when sad things happen to your friend. If sad things happen to your friend, let's say you got a friend who's sick, I think you should always say to yourself, you should always say, how would I feel if I was sick? Oh my gosh, it'd be awful. I need help. I need help. So then go and help your friend as if you were sick, meaning empathize, care, have real, real oneness, align yourself to your friend. So that's really, really going to help avoiding the evil eye. Next, Rabbi Nachman. Rabbi Nachman ben Fego, so help me, Rabbi Nachman ben Fego, help me makasha to the tzaddik and help me learn a bit of his Torah and say it with correctness. One of the most famous Torahs of Rabbi Nachman is the Torah called Reish Pei Base 282, called Azamra. You can actually go on Safaria and download Azamra of Rabbi Nachman and from Likutei Maharan, and it's just mind-blowing. By the way, it's the best website ever, Safaria, because it has so much deep Torah Kabbalistic books, also translated in English, super accessible. So really you should be on it every day, all day. So let me read you what Rabbi Nachman says is the way of averting the evil eye. And one of his one of the most important works, which will probably bring Mashiach. Let me just quote to you some of the lines. He says like this: no. Ki tzorich lodo nesakol ha'adam lekav zchus. No, that we need to judge every single human in this world, lekav zchus, for the benefit of the doubt. And it's obviously based from the famous Mishnah in Ethics of Our Fathers in chapter 1, Mishnah 6, which says, Yeshua ben Parachia, v'nitzay ha'beli kibla mehen, Yeshua ben Parachia, Oma aseh lecha rab, make yourself a rabbi, uknei lecha chover, and yeah, it has term Avert as well, Sfaria, and acquire yourself a friend, v'hevei don eskol ha'adam lekav zchus, and you need to give eskol ha'adam, and the kol ha'adam means the whole of the person, and that's the point of the two eyes. The evil eyes, you're just looking at one side, you're just looking at, they're so tight with money. I just don't like the way they're tight with money, so that means they're a nasty piece of work. Maybe they're tight with money because they are family from a Holocaust survivors, and that became very natural. And if you would be in their family and have their environment, you'd also be tight with money. But as well as them being tight with money, they're super generous of their time and they're super generous of their giving. So let's just focus on their good instead of focusing on their bad. That's what it means, lekol ha'adam. When someone does an action which hurts you, don't just focus, narrow down on that action. Look at the whole. Like how I took my hands there? The whole picture, right? Look at the whole big picture. Lekol ha'adam. So Rabbi Nachman starts off with this, that you've got to look at the kafskus, and then he writes something mind-blowing. And then he writes, even if that person is a Rasha Gomor, that person is a evil person, someone super evil, Rasha Gomor. Even he, tzorich lechapais v'limsa ba'ezem ma'atoiv. Look for something good. There's good in everyone. There's good in everyone. Even the most wicked, there's good in them too. We're living in such a generation where it's so much easier. As a rabbi now, I probably get way more followers, right? If I would be telling people to hate, to be like hate preachers that there are out there. Hate that person, hate that person. Sorry guys, I'm a love kind of rabbi, right? I'm there about love and unity, and that's the tzaddikim that I follow. And Rabbi Nachman, I follow him, and he says even a Rasha Gomor, love him too. We said v'yohavta l'reacha kamecha. L'reacha means the evil. Even the word for friends in the word is evil. So even the evil in people, learn to love that too. Learn to love everyone, and even the Rasha, you can find something good in them. You can find something good in them. And therefore, I really recommend, maybe someone has harmed you, maybe someone's really upset you, maybe someone's done something terrible to you. Try this, even forgive them. Even say, you know what? You're not condoning them, you're not condoning the action, but you're looking at a bigger picture and saying, maybe if I was them, I would have done the same. Maybe they had legitimate reasons why they thought they should do it. Start looking at a bigger picture. It's so easy to hate. Speak to Meghan Markle about that. So easy to hate. You know, people are in conflict, they hate. Everyone's hating. That's one of the reasons Mashiach's not here. Mashiach will come when there's achdus. We're taught in the Talmud, Mashiach is waiting for avas chinam, baseless love. There was baseless hatred. We need to change the hatred for love. One of the ways we'll do that is by giving the good eye, by even loving the people that have upset you, seeing the good in them. More than that, then Rabbi Nachman says, and this is critical, and again, a lot of my coaching is based on this Rabbi Nachman, you need to learn, I hope you're listening, have a good eye about yourself as well, my dear friends. You know, my great mentor, Rabbi Abraham J. Tversky, wrote 60 books all about this topic, how to love yourself, how to see the good in you. Rabbi Nachman writes, the way to have constant happiness is to have constant love for yourself, seeing the good in you. If you're going to be someone who's this kind of critical perfectionist and is only focusing on the negative, you're going to be sad, you're going to be depressed, you're going to be full of anxiety, you're going to be a miserable person, right? But if you're going to be someone who, even in you, you're kind to yourself too, you love yourself too, you see the good in you too. You know, the way anyone who's merited having children, you know, if my daughter's still there, are you still there, Brochi? Right? She's been blessed with 3 beautiful children. Ayan Hara, I can say that. Then the love you have for a child is unconditional. Even when they're a little bit naughty, you still love them. Maybe even they're kind of a lot naughty, you still love them and you see the good in them. And by the way, that is someone you can tell good news for. If you have really good news, you can definitely say it to people who unconditionally love you. You can say it to your parents, unless you're Harry, right? You can say it to your parents if you've got a half-decent relationship with them. You can say it to your grandparents. You can maybe say it to your siblings. You can say it maybe to your very best friend. You can say it to your soulmate, right? So when you have good news, you're protected when it's people who love you unconditionally and see the good in you unconditionally. You're kind of unprotected if it's someone who doesn't, and God forbid you've hurt them. That's the point. So Rabbi Nachman says, not only do you have to love wicked people and see the good in them, you have to see the good in yourself. And then he says, to see v'limtso ba'atzmei in nekuda tova adai. And this is the key word, nekuda tova, to learn to see the nekuda tova, the good point in everyone. Everyone has a nekuda tova. So your friends, so like straight away pierce in, like zone in, zoom in to the good. Straight away, you see a friend, zoom into the good. Next, let's play this game of association. Think of someone, everybody. Think of someone. Got someone in your head? Now straight away, what's their good point? What is their nekuda tova? So next time you see someone in the street, instead of, oh, like, what are they wearing? No fashion sense. Or like, what are they doing? Oh, that joker. Instead of doing that, you see someone in the street, what's the nekuda tova? What's their good point? That everyone's got good points. Some people are very good with numbers. Some people are very good, they're wise. Some people are very charitable. Some people are very hospitable. You know, some people are, you know, everyone's got advantages and virtues. And a nekuda tova, Rabbi Nachman is imploring us. What's going to bring Mashiach is to see the nekuda tova in everyone. And my dear friends, that's what tzaddikim do. When you go to a tzaddik for a blessing, do you know why it works? Because the tzaddik sees you. And you've got my son-in-law there with the picture of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. When you went to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, do you know why it worked? Because the Rebbe just straight away saw the godliness in you. He saw your good points. There was only unconditional love. And therefore he had positive wishes for you, positive blessings. So then in Shomayim, Hashem tzilcha. Hashem fulfills the words of the tzaddik. Tzaddik goyza kodesh baruch hu mekayim. The tzaddik decrees, Hashem fulfills. That's why we go to tzaddikim for blessings. And you can even go to tzaddikim who have passed away to their kivrei tzaddikim, because they're still blessing you. And they're still seeing the good in you. You need to find people in your life who love you for you, who see the good in you, who really see you. And you need to learn how to really see yourself, to see the beauty in you. You know, someone I recommend, and people who I coach know I recommend, is a lady called Louise Hay, amazing woman, a holy soul. And she teaches this beautiful idea about loving yourself, Nakuda Tova. It's the same idea of Rabbi Nachman, just in a more universal language, perhaps. You know, if you want to do some self-love work, look up Louise Hay, because it really works. So that's what Rabbi Nachman's saying, which is another way to, I believe, achieve the Ayin Tova. Now we can come back to the Kedushas Levi, to the question, what question do we ask at the beginning? We asked the question, how do we get to the whole evil eye shtick? We got here, my friends, because Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Bedichev asked the question. He says, Eile Pekudei Moshe. Moshe's counting every aspect of the tabernacle, counting. Since when do we count? We're not meant to count. Counting can create the evil eye. Answers the Kedushas Levi. It depends who's counting. If the person's counting is counting from a place of love. If the person's counting is Moshe Rabbeinu, the ultimate tzaddik, the tzaddik Yisrael Olam, the one who only sees godliness in everyone, only sees the good in everyone, then it's a beautiful blessing. Then it's Asher Pogad Moshe Al Pi Moshe. If it's Al Pi Moshe, if you can count. That's why, by the way, parents can count their kids. Because there's no evil eye attack, unless you don't like them. But if you love your kids, which I hope you do, then you can count them in a sense. And you know, when I used to take my children to theme parks and we had to count them, we can count them. Because you don't want them to get lost. So you can count them because you love them. When there's unconditional love, you can count. When there's unconditional love, you can count. And that's what the Kedushas Levi says. And he explains that's what we need to do. We need to learn how to unconditionally love people to be able to count. Let me tell you a story. Then we sum up, and then I'm happy to take questions. And then I'll go back to Johnny Kaplan. Are you still there? If you're still there, I'd love you to answer your questions now. Let me just finish off with this story. Here's the story about a good eye. There was a guy, two brothers actually, called, thank you on Instagram, Museum. Who are you? That's the problem with Instagram. Everyone doesn't have their real names. I don't know who you are. So bless them. So Johnny, don't go anywhere because we're going to answer your question soon. I want to tell you a really cool story. Listen up. Two brothers. They were actually the owners of Macy's. Anyone in New York been shopping to Macy's? I went to Macy's once, right? Been to Macy's. They're the owners of Macy's in the beginning of the 20th century. Two brothers called Isidore and Nathan. And in 1912, they had an opportunity to have a voyage to Israel, to the land of Israel. And there was a small Jewish community living there with terrible poverty. And Nathan wanted to see it with his own eyes. So they both went. And Nathan couldn't believe the poverty. Isidore wasn't as impressed. He essentially said, listen, people who are poor, they need to work harder, get a job. So he left pretty soon, went back to Europe. But Nathan said, I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying. And he's staying, and he started working on building a beautiful soup kitchen for the poor in Jerusalem, in a place called Me'er Sha'arim. When the opening of the soup kitchen, can you imagine, it's like you've gone all the way and you've opened the soup kitchen. Opens the soup kitchen, kind of a tragedy happens. He has an accident, falls down, he breaks his leg. And in those days, to break your leg, that's a big thing. Big thing. Big operation, big balagan. He's now in hospital, and his brother's going crazy because his brother's saying, listen, Nathan, we got a deadline here. April the 10th, we have the most amazing voyage planned. I need you to be with me in Southampton on April the 10th because we've got the best voyage of your life. But there's no way. Nathan was now, his love for his charity, his love for Israel had now caused him. He's now lying in hospital in Israel. He wasn't going to be able to make the April the 10th, the day the boat left. And the boat left. And 5 days later, that boat, Titanic, hits an ice. And you all know the story. You've watched the film. You know the story. Titanic sank, and tragically, Isidore lost his life. His wife was okay. She was one of those to escape on the boats. But Isidore died, and Nathan Strauss was meant to be in Titanic. When he realized his life got saved by Hashem, and that was the accident, it was actually a blessing. Which is, by the way, an amazing, beautiful insight. Sometimes when bad things happen, we think it's terrible, but then it saves our life. Everything's a blessing. When he realized that his life was saved, he wanted to dedicate his life to building up Israel, to doing way more charity. And he did that. And that street became named after him, called Rehov Strauss. I'm sure some of you have walked on Rehov Strauss. And he built up a beautiful city in Israel called Netanya. Netanya is named after Nathan Strauss. Did you know that? And why I want to share this with you, I think something like Titanic was a great example of, if there was a ship which was susceptible to the evil eye, it was that. When you show off, when it was the biggest ship ever, it was going to be the best ever, the best. When you have something which is so susceptible to the evil eye, you're kind of asking for trouble. But what was amazing is because of his ayin tovah, because of his good eye, because of he cared about people, he saw the good, he saw the poor. It wasn't their fault. It wasn't this kind of position of work harder, and it's a position of empathy and love. And if it's your children going through poverty, you're going to care. That empathy, that good eye saved him from the evil eye and saved his life. So in short, and I'm going to answer Johnny's question, the strategies to avoid the evil eye is, number one, have a good eye. Number two, not to upset people generally, because by upsetting people, that makes you vulnerable to the evil eye, God forbid. Number three, hasameach bechelko, learn to be happy with his lot. Be happy with your friend's lot. Dance at their wedding as if it's your wedding. Truly learn empathy and love their joy the way you would love if it was your own. Benefit of the doubt, critical, seeing the good in yourself, the good in your enemies, the good in your friends, just learning straight away to zoom in at the good points. Finally, prayer. I think prayer definitely works. Tehillim number 91 is a great one to try and protect yourself from the evil eye. But I hope you know what, I'm kind of a force field. But what I'm trying to say is, just like if someone punches you on the nose with a lot of force, your nose will probably break. If you're going into life like a bull in a china shop, if you're going into life upsetting people right, left, and center, not being sensitive, harming people's feelings, kind of don't be surprised. Don't be surprised when, God forbid, they have an evil eye on you and it has an effect, because that's the way it works, tragically. Next step, forgiveness. Learn just to forgive. Just let it go. Forgive. And finally, Rabbi Levi Yitzhak, want to finish off. Every day, spend time being a fountain of life. What does it mean, being a fountain of life? You see, really, all there is Hashem. And Hashem sending this energy of love and this fountain of love. If you every day just say, I want to be part of that fountain of love. I just want to feel that love and see the love and start seeing other people the way God sees you. Seeing other people the way you see the people that you love, and you see everyone in that way. You see the godliness in everyone and the goodness in everyone, and you're part of that fountain of love. That's the way to avert the evil eye, and that is actually the way to bring Mashiach. Rabbi Nachman finishes at the end of Azamra by saying that's what the tzaddik's going to always try and do. Every day he's praying that all the souls should unite together, and he's uniting them by seeing their good, by promoting them, by blessing them, by talking to Hashem about the beauty in all of us. And what that does is it unites, brings everyone together. And that's what, please God, will bring Mashiach. So now, Johnny, your question. Let's go back to your question. Your question was... Scrolling down. Sorry for this, everyone. Johnny Kaplan, see what trouble you caused me? Joking. What about business when you need to promote and advertise your achievements in order to get new business clients? That's a really good question. So if your business, like yours, is a very much social media business, you kind of got no choice. But it's so important that you work so hard at just having a good eye, loving people, being kind to people, being nice to people. There's people in your surroundings that may be struggling in business. Even more, be sensitive to their needs. In other words, you just got to make sure you're this good eye, you're this bastion of love, that you'll be protected, that when it goes on social media, please God. You know what's really interesting is people who are very kind, wonderful people don't normally have an issue with them if they're seemingly successful. You're kind of happy for them. So that's the key thing, Johnny, I can say to you. Just be even kinder, even nicer, even more sympathetic, even more sensitive to people's needs. And then you should probably put it on social media and say to Hashem, I'm putting it, but like, please protect me. And maybe that's when you do need to say it should be B'li Ayan Hara. It's, you know, please God, Hashem should protect me. Then no, Ayan Hara should be attached. But I'm telling you, you're protected when you don't harm people. End of. If you don't harm people, and by the way, if there's someone in your life that you maybe have harmed in the past, great opportunity to go and ask forgiveness and try and make it up and try and just say sorry. How do you avoid the Ayan Hara and find the level between showcasing? Yeah, same question, right? So, as I said, someone like you who is in the social media industry, kind of unfortunately in today's day and age. But here's the thing, maybe even for you, there are ways to limit it. Maybe even for you, there are ways to, there's some ways to be really overt. Even, again, for you, does your face have to always be there? Can other people's faces be there? Is there a way, always, even if you've got to be in the social media, try and do it a little bit more modest? Just a little funny example, right? So you'll see on my Instagram. So for me, again, I really despise being on social media. It's the last thing I want to be. I want to be like totally discreet. On the other hand, how am I going to be able to share Torah during a pandemic online if I'm not on social media? So I've got to be in social. But then I still don't want my photo as much as possible. So the wonderful Indigo who makes my Instagram, I've told her like on the classes just to put a cover, because I just don't want my face there as much as possible, which is, she laughed like, but you're giving talks and it is your face, but I still want to cover it up as much as possible. Do you know what I mean? So still try and be discreet, still trying to be modest the whole time. And that's the best way to do it. Any other questions? Happy to take other questions. My dear friends, I really hope you enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a very beautiful Torah that we had the merit of sharing together and learning together. And Hashem, in the schus of the Torah we learned, Hashem should grant us all with Yeshua. Hashem should grant us that we're not going to be vulnerable to the evil eye, because there's only going to be Ayin Tova. When Mashiach comes, there's only Ayin Tova. There's only good eyes. And Hashem, that day will come super soon, everybody. Really, thank you so much for enjoying and being with me. And next week, if Mashiach hasn't come, then Sunday night we're learning Mesilas Yesharim, Path of the Just. I'm saying even when Mashiach comes, hopefully we'll be doing it, but we're doing it probably not on social media. We'll be doing it in Israel, maybe with social media. But on Sunday night, my friends, we will do Path of the Just at 8:00 p.m. English time. And see, Esther, wasn't it a good one to sponsor? Like crazy deep Torah that you and your grandmother get tremendous merit for it. And then Wednesday night, please God, next week, 7:30 again. That's probably our new time, 9:30 Israel time for Wednesday night. Haven't got a clue what we're going to learn. As I said to you, I only start thinking about it on Shabbos Kodesh, and we see what Hashem channels in to our world. So happy to take questions, happy to take clients, happy to speak to you anytime you want, 24/7. Be in touch. Please, if you can, subscribe to the J Network 613 YouTube account that we just set up. Please, 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 if you liked tonight, you thought it was nice, share it. Just share it on Facebook. Trust me, I invite Mashiach to enjoy my class every week. And at the moment, he's not up for it. But if you could share it, it'd be a big mitzvah, because then maybe someone else can hear it, and then they can gain, and then they can learn the lessons of Ayin Tova tonight and protect each other from the evil eye. So please share, and please, if you're watching it as a replay, which I know some of you watch it a little bit later, still like it and comment it and just chat about it, because I know if you make a comment, then I know you've watched it, and then I can be in contact with you, because I don't just want to give a class. I'd love to really get to know you and share Torah with you and really help you in your lives if that's what you wish. So God bless you, and hope you enjoyed it. Good night, my friends. God bless. Bye.